All right, before we get started today, I got to give a big shout out to Brodozer, our newest VIP level patron. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out patreon.com/bigtruth. And that is a way for you to directly support the podcast and get more involved and be interactive. There's 4 different levels of sponsorship that you can get involved with over there on Patreon. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but they all come with their own perks and benefits. And so go check out patreon.com/bigtruth. And if you feel so inclined, sign up to help directly support this show and allow it to continue and grow. And it is a way like you'll get some cool stuff, and it's more interactive. And I'll let you know who's coming on beforehand sometimes, and get some feedback from you guys and questions and whatnot. There's all kinds of things that are going to be in the works. Going to really try and expand that this year. Also, big shout out to manscaped.com for supporting this podcast. If you don't know what Manscaped is, they make basically a ball razor called the Lawnmower 3.0. And it's got these special ceramic blades so you don't, get cuts, nicks, burns, abrasions. Basically when you're in there shaving the shaft or the dingle balls, you don't want to see blood on your fingers, and so this helps you avoid that. And if you got a hairy shaft or a hairy dingus and or a hairy package down there, take care of that shit. No one wants to deal with it. You don't even want to deal with it. Nothing worse than a swampy grundle on a hot summer day. So deforest that area and make yourself feel better, and your partner will probably definitely appreciate that, unless there are some 70s retroactive Sasquatch loving motherfuckers. But anyway, yeah, so check them out. Manscaped.com. They got that Lawnmower 3.0 razor and all kinds of odds and ends and assorted products, all in the name of promoting ball health. So if you use the promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout at manscaped.com, you'll get 20% off your order and free shipping. So you can't lose. Check them out, manscaped.com. Promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, 20% off your order and free shipping. Also, if you find yourself in the unfortunate situation where you are in a motorcycle accident, you want to check out lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is a law firm that is, they specialize in just that, motorcycle accidents. It was founded for riders, by riders. And if you go on Facebook and type in Law Tigers, then your state, you will get in touch with their local office, and that'll be of more direct assistance to you. So lawtigers.com, or go on Facebook and type in Law Tigers in your state to get in touch with a more local office. Omerta is a clothing brand, streetwear company that's been killing it, run by 2 of my old friends. And super legit status, triple OG motherfuckers. So check that out. They got all the gear you want, whether it's t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, scarves, sometimes socks, pomades, all kinds of shit, man. Endorsed and rocked pretty universally by all facets of people involved in different American and worldwide subcultures. So check them out, omertamia.com. OMERTAMIA.com, and on Instagram and all social medias is at Omertamia. Also there, you use the promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, you will get 20% off your order. So go to omertamia.com, get yourself some good threads, and use the promo code Omertamia. Use the promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, and you'll get 20% off your order. By the way, for anyone listening, I don't read these things. I'm just going off the cuff, so I will stumble, twist and crawl my way through this. But yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. PitchforkNY.com. My man Warren and co. Do a clothing company that is vastly represented in the metal, punk rock, and hardcore scenes. You want to check that shit out and grab some gear. pitchforkny.com. They also got a record label where they do this cool series called Back to School, split 7 inches, got an East Coast band on one side, a West Coast band on the other, and some bands you might not heard of, and then there's some bands like Rancid and Murphy's Law that if you ain't heard of, you better get back to fucking school and check it out. But yeah, and they're all on limited colorways and whatnot, and limited edition 7 inches, so you gotta grab them while they can when they're hot, right off the press. pitchforkny.com. If you are into motorcycling or building custom bikes and choppers and whatnot, you need to check out Chop Cult. And if you don't check out Chop Cult, or if you don't already know what that is, then you also got to get back to school in that area. So check them out, chopcult.com. They're probably the world's biggest online message board and community for motorcycle riders, chopper guys and all, and chopper girls and all that shit. They got a lot of different areas on that message board, all separated by different topics, so you can refine your searches based on your interest. They got an online swap meet where you can buy, sell, and trade parts. They tell you about they got an events page that tells you about motorcycle-related events all across the world. They'll put you on an email list and send you like a daily digest with updates and whatnot. There's all kinds of ways to get involved, and it's all absolutely free. So, you pay the big fucking donut to get involved. And yeah, it's cool. I've been on that shit for years. I admittedly don't get as much time to just browse around as I used to, but I do check out that swap meet, and I do check out the events, and it's an invaluable resource, so you definitely got to check it out. And it's free. Don't cost you anything, and there's no fucking bullshit. They don't need a credit card or any of that stuff. So, check them out. Chopcult.com. On all the different social medias, simply at ChopCult. Chop Ahead Custom Cycles, my bike shop, located at 13 County Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts. If you are in the New England area, come on by. It's a brick and mortar motorcycle shop. We got a showroom parts counter. We also got a big shop out in the back. We do full service for Harley Davidsons. Whether you need an oil change or a full custom chopper built, anything in between, hit us up. 508-995-6764 is the number. www.chopahead.com. CHOPPAHEAD, spelled in the most masshole of ways. We got all kinds of gear and swag that we make, like shop stuff. If you wanna rep, and I know, big shout out to everybody worldwide that reps. I mean, I get pictures and shit from fucking Russia, Czech Republic, fucking Australia, New Zealand, motherfuckers. I mean, we've had motherfuckers here from New Zealand and shit. People come from all over the country. Come hang out. Welcome anytime, as long as we're open. And if you're going to come some weird hours, let me know in advance. We'd probably hook it up. I only live a couple miles down the road. All right, chopahead.com. Social media is on Facebook. It's Chop Ahead Customs with a K. And on Instagram, it's simply at Chop Ahead. And finally, last but least, check out BigTruthPodcast.com for more information on the show. All the past episodes are there and whatnot if you don't already subscribe. But do me a big favor. Wherever you listen to this, make sure you subscribe, download the episodes, leave a comment, leave a review, whatever you can. Just, kind of all that stuff boosts up the profile, gets it seen. And we're definitely being seen all over. It's weird, man. Like, I wasn't kidding on that last episode where we came in rankings number 1 in South Africa for some reason, and maybe there's not a lot of competition in the automotive market down there. But, you motherfuckers, I appreciate it. Everyone that listens and supports and writes in. I get a lot of feedback. And, I get it. I get it all and super appreciate it. And without further ado, let's just jump right the fuck into today's episode.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. And I'm stoked to announce my guest today. You might know him from Monster Garage, the voice of Monster Garage. You might know him from Pastime or he's had multiple roles in different TV shows and movies throughout the year. Broadcasting live over the phone, over the airways from California. What's up, Big Schwag?
What is cracking?
Well, not much, man. Just fucking living the dream out here in the winter in Massachusetts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're in Massachusetts. Let me see. What is it? Let me see what the temperature is here right now. So it's like 61.
Okay.
61 and a little chilly, but for me, this is like great riding. Get on the Harley. Put on my thermal bottoms, just because we're used to 80 degrees out here at 90. So put the thermals on, put the flannel on, put the vest on, and just go cruising.
Oh yeah,
but I imagine it's not 61 there.
No. But you know what? Today was it was sunny, and it was in the low 40s, which is a little off the. It's usually a little colder this time of year. It gets weird, man, because it'll be like 20 degrees one day, like 0 the next, and then it'll be like 40. So it's like we just have to adapt to all kinds of shit. And that's
Do you have snow on the ground?
Not right now. It snowed a couple times.
Oh, good.
But it comes and goes. It's weird. Like, I don't know if it seems like there's been like a shift in the seasons, and literally like it used to snow a lot more in like December when I was a kid, and now it doesn't really snow much until like February. I don't know why. It just seems to kind of happen that way nowadays. But is what it is. If it feels like seasons are starting later and ending later, you know. But
well, I may take the snow over the state I live in right now. So we're so screwed up out here in California that I may actually, and I'm not a big snow guy. I like to go visit the snow. So if I go do an appearance somewhere, like if I usually go February, I go to Des Moines to do a indoor bike show. This guy Gary Tater Gilmore, he'll do a bike show, and it's awesome. And I I'm there for 3 or 4 days. I get my fill of the snow, then I come home.
Yeah. You don't have to,
so that's my.
Yeah. You don't have to get out and shovel it or anything. You can just enjoy it, right?
I'm not good on it, man. I'm telling you, when it gets snowy, before I leave now, back in the day, let's say 10, 15 years ago when I was traveling, I would just think, just wear my tennis shoes. I'm this cool dude. And then I was like, tennis shoes just are not working in the snow.
No.
So now I have to prepare when I go back east for something. I get the good boots that are not going to make me slip, because there's nothing worse than a 330-pound guy hitting the ice. It doesn't look good.
No, and it probably doesn't feel good either. That
doesn't feel good either.
Yeah, that's never a gentle fall with that much. You got a lot of gravity behind you on that one.
It's not good.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I mean, the new Monster Garage just launched last week, right? Like that was the first one.
Yeah, last Monday. It was pretty awesome. I mean, Jesse and those guys. So I knew. So 2 years ago, we did a little special for Discovery Channel, and Jesse he talked about 2 previous episodes, and basically Discovery Channel was just trying to see if folks were into it, if the ratings were good. And then I think they got enough interest that 2 years later, Jesse called me and said, "Hey, we're doing it again. I want you to be the voice of it and do it again." And I was like, "Awesome." He brought back Body Drop and some of our old producers.
Yeah.
Same production company, Original Productions, started Monster Garage and Ice Road Truckers and Deadliest Catch and all those other hit shows. So we were excited. They started filming the beginning of 2020, I think in March, and then all of a sudden they got like 3/4 of the first episode done, and then everything got shut down because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I think June, July, I want to say in June, March, April, May, June, maybe June, they picked back up to finish shooting. And, I think about a month ago, we got them all done. And me doing the voiceovers, Jesse films in Austin. So all the builders go to Austin and Texas and film there. And then I do all my stuff in Burbank, California. So I just go in, I have to wait till the shows are all edited and done. And then I go into the booth and go over, watching the stuff and go over my script and get it done. So we just literally finished maybe 2 weeks ago with all the VO. So
nice. Yeah. And that first one was crazy, man. A rocket powered fucking Jaguar.
Yeah. A Pulse Jet. Now, I've heard of those things, and I've seen them once or twice, but yeah, it literally came down to like, I think, 5 minutes or something. So this, on this new Monster Garage, they take a day away from the builders. It used to be 6 days, and then on the 7th day they go test it, But here they get 5 days. On the 6th day you go test, and so it's tougher. And if you got Discovery Plus, Discovery Channel put the first episode on regular Discovery Channel, which was cool, and then the rest, we have 8 episodes altogether. We did a ninth episode, which is like a special, which I thought they would air beforehand, but they haven't aired it yet. Maybe it'll be some the lost episode or something they'll air, where we're all quarantined from the garage is what it was. And I was here, Body Drop was in Phoenix, and Jesse was in Austin. But Yeah, it takes a lot to get that stuff done. We would have had it, probably done March, April. We probably would have been done with all this stuff in June because, I mean, Jesse was really pushing to get these stuff done. He was like, we're filming this week, give me one day off, and then let's start on the next show. So it was pretty cool. They all came together, in a weird year, and I'm pretty proud of them. It's they look good. I took over doing all the narration on it, right? So Tom Beers, our executive producer, the guy that started the show with Jesse 20 years ago, used to do most of the narration on it. And I would just do the beginning, the middle, and then the challenge at the ending, the big Schwag yell and all that. So now on these episodes, I got to do everything. It's just me doing it. So
I noticed that. Yeah.
Tough. Yeah, I gotta do the big Schwag, and then I gotta do the mellow Schwag during the middle. So it's tough sometimes it's tough when you're always on 100%. I go do shows, I'm at 100%. I'm at, yelling and screaming and I'm doing stuff, but to bring it down, it took a little time to learn how to do that, but I'm glad it's exciting.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And so much stuff's been affected by like COVID and availability and stuff. Has that affected, like, I can't imagine how that can affect that show, like just trying to like source materials and stuff to get shit made. Is that added like an extra like fucking layer of hardness to it, especially now with only 5 days?
Sure. Well, the problem is that some people couldn't, like, Texas didn't want people coming in from New York or California, right? So, getting back to starting to refilm in June, I think it was June, I could be wrong, but anyways, June or July when they restarted, it was tough because some states like Arizona didn't want people from California traveling there, and Texas didn't want people from California and New York traveling there. So if we had builders that were supposed to be on a specific build and they're from New York, it was, it was a logistic nightmare trying to get all these guys to get together and get down there to Texas to film. And we didn't have as many, so then you can't have that many people on the set, right? So you can't have a full, and I don't know how many we used to have in the day, but let's say on a given show, even though it's a reality show, let's say there's 40 people there, throughout the day filming. Well, you couldn't even, you probably could have 10 people. So it means a lot of more work for folks, guys that are, a director working a camera might be doing a whole bunch of other stuff, so
Sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man. And I mean, you don't notice it. I mean, it's still got like the good flow and, the good shots, like, like the old ones did. So it's not really missing a beat, but I know it's just probably more part of the extra effort from the people that are actually there working,
Yeah. Listen, all credit goes to our production company and Jesse, honestly. They really wanted to, it's like you get started on something. So he hasn't done it in 14 years, right? So there's been no Monster Garage for 14 years. So to get to the point where he's like, all right, let's do it. And let's do it, one less day. Let's have cool builds. And he's grown up a lot from when they first started doing it. So he had his mindset on doing it, in the proper way and making sure that, it's tough when some of these things don't work, they don't get built in time. They don't run. So he then gets to destroy them, which is always semi-fun, I guess, unless you're one of the builders on that show and it failed. So
yeah, but it's still a fringe benefit, like it's still like a little win at least, you get to do something fun with it. So really,
well, he loves to destroy shit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So yeah,
who doesn't?
If it's not going good and he gets to figure out a cool way to blow shiznit it up, then it's always, I always feel bad for the builders, but then I love when you see it at the ending, especially when I'm in the studio. So I'll get how it works is I'll get the night before usually because, we're on a time crunch and you have to have stuff into Discovery Channel by a certain time, just like any TV show out that you have it's due, it needs to be done, it needs to be edited so Discovery Channel can watch it and go, okay, that's great. Then I get it in the studio, but I'll get the screening the night before. So I'll sit down and watch it and go, oh, that's great. That's awesome. And then I look over my notes and then I got to go into the studio the next day. So it's a thrill. I don't have months and months to look at something. I got it the night before and then we go, and then I have producers and we get a script and then I can change what I'd like. I'll give them options, so I'll do it their way. Then I'll do it my way. And then they pick what they like. So it's pretty cool. it's a blessing to be able to do something like that. So, you know, I say thanks to the Lord for being able to do stuff like that. So.
Absolutely, man. And that was you answered a question I was going to ask, like how much of it is scripted for you and how much do you get to ad-lib? So it sounds like you do a couple tracks and then let them choose what they want to roll with.
Well, so I'm not there during the build. So the first season we did 20 years ago, I'd have to sit there and watch, you know, what was going on. And I'd have to sit there and I had this guy, Frankie Whiteside, and we both did the challenge at the ending. So you had to watch it. And I had to go, okay. And then I'd watch 2 minutes and then, well, what would I say? And then I'd write it down and then I'd have to rewind the tape and go. And then once we get it to a certain point, then I have to sit in there with the producers and go over what I did and read it. And they'd say, no. So now we basically I'll get a outline of the show and then we go into it. And I have the producer on the phone or he's in the booth with me. This year they've been on the phone because of COVID and all that.
Yeah.
When I'm yelling, I'm spitting a lot. So it's much better to have no one in there. And then I got the sound guy in the next room watching through a thing going, you know, checking the levels out. But it's, so I get my script, I go through it and, you know, I'll read it the night before and I'll just make little changes and notes where I think would be funny or if I wouldn't say something like that. And then I'll tell them, you know, hey, can I change this? I would never say something like that. If they go, well, we really want you to say that, then you go for it. But our producers are really cool. The fact that they trust me to do it and trust that, you know, if I say something, they'll somewhat listen to me. And if they want it done the way they want it done, then it gets done that way. Not a big deal, you know.
Sure, man. Sure. Cool. What's been, you know, I know you probably can't talk too much about the new season because it's still rolling out, but you know, to date, what's been some of the funnest or the most standout kind of episodes or builds for you? You know, what kind of?
Wow. Well, yeah, you know, back in the day, like we did 5 episodes, right? The first time we did it, we did the first 5 episodes, and this is just from the beginning. And one of my favorite things was the 100 mile an hour. We did a Mustang golf ball picker. Oh, wait a minute, the Mustang lawnmower.
Yeah.
So we did this, you know, that could cut lawns at 100 miles an hour. And I actually I worked for a lawnmower company called Bad Boy Mowers. So I always thought I'm like, this is so cool. And we did so many cool builds the first, 5 years of the show that I was worried about, to be honest with you. I'm like, what else could we do? What could he come up with in his mind that's going to be cool? I honestly thought we did all the cool stuff was done, but all the new shows are awesome. I particularly, I did like the wood burning. We just did it, the wood burning 73 or 74 Corvette. It ran on wood. I thought it was just amazing because I love Corvettes. I just don't fit in them.
Yeah.
And nothing like a Stingray that, you could do something different with. And that was very cool. We just did, we had one that was, I forget what it is, this big Columbine thing that, that's not the right word for a combine thing. We made it into a dragster, but the thing was just monstrous, probably 20,000 pounds or something, or 30,000 pounds. And they had to tear that down make it into a, like a dragster for the cornfield.
Wow.
Which was pretty awesome. And I never thought, I was like watching it that night going, there's no way this is going to work. Sometimes Jesse will send me a picture, right? He'll just text me a picture of the finished product.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have no idea what they're doing. I don't call and go, hey, what are you guys working on this week? But he'll send me an end picture and I'll be like, oh, wow. And I just sit there guessing and going, what the hell is that? Or what did it come from? So it's pretty cool. So it's always exciting to see the stuff and then see when it's finally done. Or like I said, I still get excited I hate to get excited, but I get excited when something fails because then I know that it's going to, its demise is going to be awesome and legendary.
Yeah, man. So that's pretty cool. Like they really stick to a 5-day. It's not like, because a lot of people have like a kind of mistrust for reality TV and
Sure.
like, they're filming that over like a month and really making it look like 5 days. So they really stick to like a 5-day plan, right?
Do 5 days. Now, the paint that's put on it afterwards is fine, but those builders have 5 days to get that thing built and for it to work. And if it doesn't, it's done. That's it.
Wow.
If it makes it past it, you know, then West Coast choppers will throw a cool paint job on it and whatever they want, and it goes from there. But yeah, man, it's 5 days. That's it. It's So what you're talking about is a lot of shows are called scripted reality, right? It's supposed to be a reality show. But that, let's take, for example, and I'm not bashing him because I've become friends with Paul Tuttle Jr. But some of those shows where the guy's yelling at something, you can't see what he's yelling at. He's yelling at a wall, I mean, the old man.
Yeah.
So, and shows will come up with we need some, there needs to be an argument. There needs to be something. Well, on our show, you don't need that. I mean, if there's going to be an argument, it's coming.
Yeah. You got 5 days.
It's coming.
Yeah, there's going to be stress. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Guys are working 14 hours a day, stressed, trying to get something done. And then they, got to come back and do it the next day with cameras in their faces and everything else. It's not the easiest thing to do.
Sure. I bet the first day gets to be a little bit of a wash because the dude just, the builders are probably just getting used to being on film and whatnot. And, they're probably all nervous and shit.
Sure. It's always that first day, right? And then you'll see it, especially on these episodes, guys are like, oh, well, we got this. And Jesse's always like, they always say that in the beginning. They always say that. Oh, we got it. We're doing good. And after the first day, everybody feels like, man, we did good. We tore this thing apart. Well, the fifth day at midnight comes very fast.
Yeah.
So, and on a few of these builds, I mean, one came down to like 3 minutes. I forget which one it was. I don't know if it's already aired or not, but it literally comes down to 3 minutes. There's 3 minutes left or something.
Yeah.
30 seconds or 3 minutes. Either way, it was just like, oh no. And I'm watching this as I'm getting ready to do the VO for it, going, holy hell, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to be that guy. I wish I could build, right? But then I wish I was a real good with my hands, build my own motorcycles, build a car, go on that show and do something. But then I also know that I don't like losing. I don't like failing. So the stress these guys must be under, and then to be, dead tired for 5 days, it's got to be real stressful and a pain in the ass.
Sure. Do they get to do, is there I guess it's like, because, to have all the materials and stuff you need is going to be a little hard. Is there a little bit of pre-planning so at least like the materials are there, like they're not waiting on like...
Well, that's, so that's beyond me. I know that the shop that Jesse built for the set, where we're working to do the builds,
yeah,
it's got everything you could want. I mean, he put stuff in there that just, most of these guys who are mechanics and fabricators are getting there and go, holy shit. So as far as stuff that you would need to build with, to tear apart, plasma cutter, anything you need is in that shop. It's, first rate. It's amazing. As far as preparing for what they need, that's beyond me, whether they need sheet metal. I think all this stuff is, they got $5,500 to spend unless someone's donating something. So
yeah.
You everything is pretty much on a tight budget to get stuff done. But, I think, most of I'm sure there's a powwow to make sure if they're building, that the.
Cool. How did no, this is going back to the early episodes and stuff, but how did you even get involved? Like, how did you get tapped to be the voice for the show?
Oh, well, I was, so I've been an actor, right? So since I was 21, I was splitting time. I was a bodyguard for a lot of bands, and then I throw people out of bars, if I wasn't working on the road. And during the day, I try to be an actor and get acting gigs. And I think I was 30 years old, and I had a little bit of success at some acting, but nothing major. And I decided to go into the pro wrestling, which was silly for my body because my body couldn't handle it. But I did it for 5 years, and I did a documentary for Discovery Channel called Wrestling School with John Cena and Samoa Joe and some other guys that are very famous now.
Yeah. John Cena is like my buddy, a good friend of mine's cousin. We used to roll around with him a little bit back in the day.
He's out that way, right? He's from out there.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a good dude for sure.
So I got John. I was running this school for the WWF called Ultimate Pro Wrestling. I was like a bad manager, like a Bobby the Brain Heenan or a Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
And then, here's John Cena comes in. But anyways, we're doing a documentary for Discovery Channel, and that producer, his name was Tom Beers. And I just knew that I wanted to stay friends with this guy. He's very brilliant, very smart. And I just stayed his buddy. I'd stop by once a week, at his office and say, hey, what's going on? And finally one day he said, hey, man, I want you to do your wrestling voice, your big Schwag persona. He said, I want you to do your wrestling thing for this show I'm doing. It's going to be called Monster Garage with this young, hot bike builder. And I knew who Jesse was. I'd, seen his bikes in magazines and heard about him. And then I said, okay, well, can I use my big Schwag persona, And he goes, well, as long as Discovery Channel don't care. And no one ever said anything. So I just kept using the big Schwag moniker, which seems silly now, but now I'm stuck with it. So, and I went, we did it, we did like 5 episodes right away, and Discovery liked it. And, this all came about because that Motorcycle Mania that Discovery Channel put out was so big that they came to Tom and said, well, do you have like a TV show idea for this, or is there an angle? And he goes, of course we have one. Now, whether he did or not, he was smart enough to say yes, and then he came up with the show with Jesse, and the rest is kind of history. It's just it was the first real, it was the first legit, kind of automotive, cool show on TV that was real, and then everything else followed. The American Choppers, the Richard Rawlings, and all that other stuff, but semi-fake. So
I Motorcycle Mania, because I was in the motorcycle industry at the time, and I was a chopper guy, chopper builder, and that came out, and it was a game changer. Even out here, instantly, bikes went crazy the next year. You know what I mean? It was fucking nuts, how quick that it spread like that.
People see that and they go, holy shit, oh my God, I know. Well, my buddy down the street does that, or a friend of mine builds bikes. And, then all of a sudden it became, well, maybe that mechanic guy's kind of cool, got something going on. Maybe he's not just some grease monkey. And that show, Motorcycle Mania and Monster Garage, kind of changed the way people look at, the guy that works in his garage, that works on the car, that's his business. And then, came Biker Build Off, which was amazing, which showcased a lot of people, made a lot of guys famous really quick.
Yep.
That might have been on the back, but, guys that were, plugging along, and then all of a sudden they're on national TV, and then people want to buy their shirts and everything else.
Yep. Yeah.
And some of them, 90% of them built really cool bikes, really cool dudes. And it kind of, it changed the whole industry.
Yeah, it did. It was crazy. And it was crazy times, because I was at the smokeout where they filmed that first Biker Build Off, and it was like Billy Lane versus Bourget or something like that. And it was like,
oh yeah,
there was literally maybe 700 people at the whole event, because it was still small, and they had to have pretty much everyone there stand in a circle around them, so it looked like it was filled up. And then,
sure.
then the next year that event fucking quadrupled in size, you know what I mean? Because it was shit just grew exponentially that year. It was weird times, and I was building classic vintage, especially back then. We were building a lot of old 60s Triumph choppers, so it wasn't the big tire, big horsepower, big motor Harley stuff that we were doing back then. And so we didn't see, we would get we had we'd have 9 or 10 deposits on builds and stuff, but we weren't doing the $80,000 bikes or whatever. So it was different. But a lot of people in that time frame, money was just flowing everywhere like crazy.
My God.
I'm where did these motherfuckers get the money to spend $80,000 on bikes? And the guy's a plumber or something. How did this work? I still can't figure it out.
Well, they get crazy.
Because I want to recreate that now, you know what I mean?
But what you were building back then, the cool bobber, the cool little chopper, the Triumph stuff is so in again now that it's the Born Free shows out here. I don't know if you've been to a Born Free show. It showcases that stuff.
Yeah, we were a builder. We were for Born Free 8. We were one of the invited builders. It was a good time.
So a good friend of mine, Tom Fugel, who passed away from the L Forasteros, Tom was out there with a couple of his bikes for a couple of years in a row, and I go down and see him, and I see all these other folks that, you know, were inspired by someone like him and some of these old bike builders in their 70s and 80s, you know, that guys were building choppers back in the 60s, you know, early 60s and the 70s. And that whole culture's so in again. Yeah. You know what's amazing, and you'll know this, in Japan, these guys, some of the guys in Japan have some of the coolest, oldest, most righteous choppers that you would just, if I had fucking the money, I would go over there if I had the dough and just go buy all these things up. Because those guys somehow have gotten these bikes from over here and they're tearing it up over there. But
for a
that
long
whole
time,
scene is so big now again.
Dude, for a long time. We had a bike in the Munai show in Japan in 2005, and when we went out there in 2005, I was like, God damn, this is where all the knuckleheads are and the panheads. Like this is why I can't find one here, because there was like 300 bikes in the show, and every one was a panhead or a knucklehead, you know, and there's a couple of shovelheads.
It's crazy.
That was
I have always known that Japan has always been big on, you know, an American culture, whether it's the jeans, the skulls, leather. You know, they've always been into that. But when they started taking the motorcycles, somebody should have put their foot down, for God's sake. Because now the cool bikes are over there. But that whole scene's big again. You know, it's tough. I know Jesse and some of these guys still are there on they don't build the bikes like they used to. It's on a, you know, he'll build for customers that really want it. And he's got I think a waiting list for a couple of years for a bike, as well as his guns. It's like a 3-year waiting list just to get a gun made if you want.
Sure, yeah.
But the old school bike, you know, the build it yourself thing is so huge right now that I just think I'm too old to get into it. You know, I like that. So I like the Midwest chopper, right? I like a Kansas City chopper. I like that.
Tall,
you know,
tall
that
boy. Like
absolutely, nice, man. You chop that frame, stick it way up in the air.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. Now you very rarely ever see something in California like that unless someone went out there and bought it. But that's my style. That's what I like. And then, of course, I mean, I have a 2017 Road Glide, and people, you get the geezer glide. I'm like, yes, I do. I certainly do. And my wife thanks me for it all the time when we go on a ride, you know. So,
well, you know, you got to have different bikes for different things. You go get your St. Louis chopper for when you're rolling around, and then you have that one for when you're going out with the wife on a long ride, you know. That's one thing I learned in life, because, like, you know, I used to be staunch chopper. If it's not a hardtail, fuck it, it's fucking stupid, blah blah blah. And now, you know, look, now I'm 49. I'm gonna be 49 this week, right? So it's like, you know, all right, I get it. It's nice to have a different bike for super long hauls, and then have the choppers for like, you know, 300-mile rides, and then have something more comfortable for longer rides and shit, you know what I mean? But and you know, like, I've been getting into, like, I live in the woods now, man. Like, I'm trying to pull the trigger on some kind of, like, on off-road type of deal, you know, and you know, different types of bikes for different type of riding, you know.
Sure. Listen, if I love an old school bike. I mean, I had a '67 Triumph chopper as a kid, and I couldn't get it running. I traded a washer and a dryer for this thing, and I couldn't get it running, and it sat on the side of my house, and my dad finally said, you know, you got to get rid of this thing. So some guys, I'll give you $300 for that thing. And I was like, all right, yeah, okay.
What year was that?
2 weeks later, that guy's running. It was a '67 Triumph chopper.
Oh,
right?
no. What year was it that you sold it for $300?
Oh, geez. So probably 84.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
2 weeks later, he's cruising by my house, just waving at me. And I'm like, oh, man. And now, if I would have known the folks I know now, that thing would have been running in a week, and I would have enjoyed it myself. But I'm thrilled. I love going to the Born Free show. I mean, we obviously haven't been able to go do anything because of COVID for a while. I got a few gigs in. I do Iron Horse Mud Ranch, which is a big, mud bogging and big monster truck, mega truck thing. I don't want to say the right word. Monster trucks for the arenas, mega trucks for the normal folks. And I go do that a couple times a year and some drag races, but I miss going to the big bike shows. And hopefully things will get better this year in 2021, and we'll be able to go see some big bike shows.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I you know, like through all this, I kept working every day, so it didn't affect me too much. But what's really been affecting me is not going to the shows and connecting with old friends and the camaraderie of it, man. Like it's starting to wear. I was like, I don't think I got another year of this in me, man. Like I haven't been to a music show since last March, and I haven't been to this long without going to a music show since I was probably 12 years old. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, man. It's psychologically
I can tell you
wearing
the
on
last. Yeah, I can tell you. No, absolutely, 100%. That whole camaraderie thing. I mean, I'll go riding with some folks out here. We'll go riding on the weekend someplace, but you really can't go anywhere, right? So when everything's shut down, you can't sit anywhere. You can't go anywhere. So, I mean, we can go ride all over the place, but if I can't go grab something to eat, have a tasty beverage, have a beer, or sit down and do something, it's tough. We have a place called Neptune's Net, which is out on the Pacific Coast Highway, right across from the ocean. And that's a famous biker place to go. You park your bikes there. You'll have hundreds of bikes up and down the coast. You go grab your food inside, which is good. You get your shrimp, get your fish, whatever you want. Then you go chill out and watch the ocean, or go look at other people's bikes. And that's a weekly thing out here. That's what I would look forward to going to places on the weekend on my bike just to get out and ride and go do something and say howdy and shake a hand and, get something to eat and have a beer. And that's totally been yanked away from us. So it's tough. And I totally understand. I get more depressed, not for me because I stay busy, but I get more depressed for my friends that don't have work,
sure,
or don't have an outlet, or don't have something to do. By the grace of God, like you said, you and me both have been working, so I'm not getting the work I used to, but at least I'm staying busy.
Yep.
And that keeps my mind focused. And when you're not working and your mind's not focused, then Satan creeps in and makes you do dumb things. So.
Yeah, man. It's just been a crazy year, and it's like when you look at it, like and I'm not taking anything away from COVID, but like when you look at things like the suicide rates or like rates of divorce and crazy stuff, like there's going to be a lot of and never mind up to 40% of small businesses being shut down for good in America. There's going to be a lot of hell to pay from this. Like there's going to be a lot of collateral damage beyond just the people that got sick, and it's I'm not looking forward to the fallout of that for sure.
No, it's going to be ugly. And, out here in California, especially our governor, we call him Commandant Newsom, Governor Newsom.
What
he won't. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was going to say what never ceases to amaze me is that the hypocrisy of a lot of these more outspoken people, and they all get busted like dining at restaurants or like going to the hairdresser or whatever they're doing. And even here, man, it's the same everywhere. It's like, what, you do as I say, not as I do type of thing or something, Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, so California, at one time was probably one of the most beautiful states in the union, so to speak, right? Florida, beautiful. California, just beautiful with the coast, Hollywood, I mean, just everything was just beautiful out here. It was great. And it's not that way anymore. It's just, it's unfortunate. So if I could get the wife to move, I mean, she works in the entertainment business doing payroll she does payroll for a show called Shameless.
I know Shameless.
So she gets to work she works from home, which again, when you have to see your spouse, which is good, we're getting used to it, but when you have to see your spouse for 9 months every day, instead of both of you going to work, one goes to work, I go fly and go work, and then we come home, and now you have to be together for 9 months. It's tough. So you really test your boundaries. And I'm not the easiest guy to get along with, but my wife has somehow put up with me, and we're making, we got a dog, so that's what's helping us right now. For my birthday, I turned 53 New Year's Eve, so we went and got a rescue dog, a 2-year-old German Shepherd female. So that is half of our life right now.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. And like we were saying earlier, like I have one. He's getting up there in years. He's 10 now, but I think once they hit 4 is when they really start to like kind of just mellow a little bit. But 2, that's still a puppy, man. They're still going fucking bananas.
Oh my gosh! And we've looked for weeks to get a dog, and I wanted a German Shepherd. My wife's mom trained German Shepherds when she was younger, growing up. So she knows how to work with German Shepherds. So we were trying to get one from a rescue. If you try to get any kind of purebred dog, doesn't matter, golden retriever, German Shepherd, I love Cane Corsos, but the wife was we're not having a dog that weighs as much as you in the house. So, when you want to get a purebred dog like that, I mean, it's like, $3,000, 35. I'm like, I'm not spending $3,500 on a dog. So we went and looked at rescues for months. For 2 months, I was looking at rescues and trying to find the perfect dog. And you're never going to find the perfect dog, but we found a dog that we liked. And we just I just have to get through the stages that, German Shepherds are so protective. And now that she's been in our house for 2 weeks, it's her house, it's her property. And she does not like people coming around. And we live on a 3-acre avocado orchard, right? So I have people in the orchard all the time, whether it's irrigation, whether, we're about to have it's my landlord's property, but we happen to live on it. So
that's
it's
cool.
tough.
So you always get,
it's cool. Hey, look at, if you like avocados,
you always got fresh avocado grabbing off the tree when you're heading home, right?
I do. I'm getting a little I eat one every morning. So I go outside and I grab one and I have it for breakfast with whatever else I'm eating.
It's crazy, man, because that's so outside of my frame of reference being an East Coast guy. And I remember the first time I went out and I was in Long Beach. This is years ago. This is like when West Coast choppers were still going. Like a couple of my buddies, like Dave, I don't know if you know Chopper Dave and a couple other guys all worked there. And I was crashing at my friend's house, Dustin, and like, like he just went out in his yard and picked like a lemon or some shit. And I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah, it's off the tree in the back, And I was like, God damn, dude, that's so weird. It's like, we don't, I just remember that blowing my mind. Like, man, dude, you just go out there and just grab some fruit right off the tree. It's ready to roll.
So Chopper Dave, who's still, he's one of the great bike builders in my opinion, out there that still builds great bikes and still loves that old school flavor,
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, he's a good bud. I've been out there a few times and hung out. And like I fell in love with Long Beach back then, man. That was a fun place. I don't know. I haven't been in a while and hung out there, but it was fun, especially back then, man.
Listen, Los Angeles, California, it's a beautiful place. I mean, it's still a beautiful place. It's just unfortunately, the politics and COVID have basically shut this whole place down, and it's tough. It's tough on everybody. Like you said, you and I have been working, so it takes the sting off a little bit. But I just feel so bad for the folks that can't work.
Sure.
Thank goodness that mechanics and guys that own motorcycle shops and all that are still they consider
essential.
Essential, yes. Yeah. Because if you can't, let me tell you, if I could work, even if they said they weren't essential, they'd still be open because you're not going to get between a guy and his Harley or his car to not get work done.
Absolutely, and especially when there's nothing else to do, like go take a good head clearing ride, man. But it's like you said, it's the same thing here. It's like half the fun is going and riding somewhere too. Like, and there's just not as many places to stop. Like, a lot of the venues, like with like good bars and whatnot, they're either shut down or they're not opening because it's not worth it for them to open with the limited capacities that they're giving them, or all different things. So it's just different now. Like, still get out and ride, but it's just, you don't have as much like little destinations to go to for it, So,
well, if I wanted to go sit down and eat, I'd have to ride to Arizona.
Yeah,
which is fine. I mean, it's about 6 hours for me.
Yeah,
on the bike, which is fine, but that's a long. Like my wife says, that's a long way to go get to sit down and have a pizza or something. Yeah.
That's so nuts. But hey, at least one thing that might be good is that your state's about to be a lot less populated, because I know there's been massive exodus to like Arizona and Texas and wherever. And maybe
So,
hopefully you get some less traffic out in that LA area, you know?
So here's a couple of things that have happened in Kelly. We always drove kind of fast out here, but once COVID hit, people were doing 90. 90 was like so when normally if we did like 75 out here on the cars, I was like, okay, that's kind of fast. It's fine. 75 is fine. Now people are doing 90. So there's actually a lot more car accidents, which is crazy. Guys doing 90. So you got to be even more careful when you're on the bike.
Sure.
But
because they're doing 90 and they're still texting and distracted.
Oh my God! I will pull up on people like I in my car. My wife's always slapping my hand. Put your phone down. You yell at people when they're doing that. I'm like, I do. I yell at folks when I see them doing it. Or I pull up next to them, I honk my horn and like, put your fucking phone down. And then I get caught doing it, and it's terrible. Yeah, people will text and they won't even care that the bikes are coming, and we're allowed to split lanes out here, which is one blessing.
Sure.
Otherwise, sometimes it gets too hot and we get traffic jams all the time. But the mass exodus from California is like real. I mean, Tesla, goodbye. Elon Musk, goodbye. I mean, all these companies that are bringing in, I don't know how much Tesla, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. So I don't know how much revenue they were bringing into the state of California, but he's gone. He left.
Yep.
All these other major companies worth, hundreds of millions of dollars are leaving. Yeah. The people are leaving. Yeah. Texas and Arizona are the benefit of this right now. I mean, I guess people in Texas are like, well, don't come here.
And then you got Joe Rogan over there on the podcast every day talking about how much he loves Texas. And now that I'm sure there's a lot of people, I'm sure Austin, you can't even get an apartment right now.
Well, you would be spending a shiznit ton of money. And I mean, Austin to begin with was like, Nashville, Austin, Los Angeles. All those places, were like very expensive to go live, right? You want to go live in Hollywood Hills. You want to go live in Austin. You want to go live in Nashville. You're going to pay a little bit of money, but people, 10 years ago started leaving, to go get out of here. And now it's just the mass exodus because, what do they say? 1 in 3 restaurants will not be open again. We're not going to, and I'm like 1 in 3. I mean, just imagine how many employees that is putting out of work.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I said. It's like once things come back up and operational, and it's going to be weird to see how things work out, man. Because it's going to be a lot less businesses, a lot less jobs around. I don't know what's going to fill that void. Hopefully there's a whole new slew of businesses. Maybe a commercial property would be cheaper and more affordable to get in on. I don't know.
I predict a lot of bank robberies.
Yeah,
throughout this year, I think a lot of people are going to because once you strip everything away from somebody, what has he got left? Yep. What are you going to do? Right. So I have a bad feeling that people are going to I got to go make money. I have a family. I got to do something. So,
and you're halfway there anyway. It was the weirdest feeling for me to realize I was in the bank with a mask on and strapped. I was like, all I got to do is pull this out and I'm already there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, dude, like it's crazy, But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just weird times, man. Weird times. So how did you get involved in acting? I know I've seen that you've had a lot of parts, man, and actually someone one of the Patreons on my Patreon asked me to ask you about a role you had where you did a scene with Chuck Norris.
Oh my God. Yeah, so I beat Chuck Norris up on TV. No, so I knew when I was a kid I used to sit in front of the TV. I'm a big horror movie guy, right? So I love horror movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to watch The Twilight Zone. Yeah. That was my thing. Right?
I look forward to that every New Year's. They do the Twilight Zone marathon out here. I'm all in.
So the Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Night Gallery, all that stuff was what I loved as a kid. So when I got old enough, I was like, I loved being on the road working with bands and everything. And it was great. And it was the fast-paced life. But I always knew I wanted to be under makeup and scare people on TV and movies. And so when I got to be about 21, I started taking an acting class. And then, I wasn't obviously ready, but I went out and started acting and got an agent. And I didn't really start really trying to be able to make a living at it until I was about 30 years old. And then I started getting enough acting work that I stopped doing the bouncing and stopped, working with bands. And I started doing well enough to do that. But it's tough to be a full-time actor unless you are God's gift or a real pretty guy, a pretty boy or pretty girl. And you get in there and you get lucky and get on a TV show. The ugly guys, the blue collar, the character actors, because I'm a character actor, as they say it. When I go in for an audition, I'll go up against 100 guys that all look the same, big ugly tattoos and a goatee and a shaved head. And you have to get used to the doors being, you don't hear nothing, right? So you go on an audition, you're like, that was great, I killed it. And then you never hear anything.
Yep.
And then you'll see that TV show and you say, oh man, that guy was terrible. Why didn't I get it? So you got to get used to people, defeat all the time. And once you get used to that, and if you're trained all right and you have a decent look and you have a bit of a resume because you've been doing it a long time, things will start to happen. But, the COVID thing is tough because now we can't go in. I work a room really well. So if I walk in a room, whether it's be the life of the party or to be able to BS with the casting people in front of you and a director possibly, because you'll go in and read with the casting director and they go, oh, that was great, thank you. And then you get a callback, as we call it. And then when you go in for the callback, the director will be there, maybe some of the producers, and then you read again. So I'm good at that. But what we have to do now is we self-tape, right? Because we can't go in because of COVID. So you have to tape yourself at home. And that's a whole nother animal.
Sure.
It's not the same thing. It's not me going in a room and going, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Oh, Brett, what have you been doing lately? Oh, I just finished, doing the voiceovers for a TV show. And, oh, that's great. Thanks. Okay. You ready? Yeah. And then you do your scene. I don't get to do that stuff when I'm self-taping. So it's a whole nother animal I'm trying to learn.
So that's interesting because like for you, who's, got experience, you look forward to actually going in and being standing
Absolutely.
in front of the people. But for other people, they might feel the pressure's off and they can be a little more loose with just being able to tape at home. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Some people are good at it, man. Some people are really good at it and they book. As opposed to when they go in a room, like you just said, they freeze up. It's the same thing if you're, filming a reality show. Some of these builders, you'll see them on Monster Garage, they don't talk a lot. Or they'll just keep to themselves. And Jesse sometimes will poke at them going, hey, you all right? You doing okay?
Yeah.
But they're not used to a camera being in their face. But yet they still want to be a part of the show. It's exciting and they just have to get over that little bit of a fear of a camera in your face. Once you get used to it, it's not a big deal, Yeah.
Plus, in this world, there's just a lot of antisocial dudes and girls that work in this world, and they just go hide in the back of their garage, so they're not used to having to like interact with anybody while they're working.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's cool. So you just got into it and you plugged away. Man, I used to be a big horror fan too. I used to go to all the Fangoria weekend of horror fucking shows out out in New York, because New York's only like a 3.5 hour drive for us. So I used to hit all those up when I was younger, man. That was a good time.
So I love Fangoria was obviously, is for us growing up, that was like the magazine.
Sure.
There's other ones now over the last couple of years. Horror Hound is a good horror magazine, and they do a big Horror Hound weekend, which is a big convention. So I was on this movie, The Crazies, with Timothy Oliphant, and I
saw that.
Play this hunter that gets infected. So I get infected, and I have a big fight with him underneath a truck and get lit on fire. But I made the cover of Fangoria with my picture in it, and I was like, oh my God! I mean, that was like. I was like, all right, if I die tomorrow, I made the cover of Fangoria. I'm okay with that. It's like, for the horror guys, that's like the biggest thing you could do. So then I was like, well, now the second biggest thing is I got to get back on that cover again. And I don't think there's any more Fangoria. I think they do stuff online now. But, I got to play, I was Leatherface in the 2003 remake for a week, and then I got hurt. So I killed this guy, Eric Balfour, with a sledgehammer. And the Jessica Biel remake, so I got the first kill in the movie, and then I got heat stroke filming in this, and with all this, they didn't think I was heavy enough, so they kept layering me up. So I was about probably 350 pounds with all this stuff on, and we were filming in Austin
Yeah.
in a house that was so hot and so humid that after one day of when I'm trying to kill that guy with the sledgehammer, I just keeled over and I said I need a break. But it was, once you get heat stroke, your muscles all cramp up, and that was that. So
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I didn't know that you actually played Leatherface. I remember that remake. That's rad. So that
Leatherface for a week, man. That's it. That's my book. Leatherface for a week.
Nice. I'll have to go back and rewatch that one and look for that first kill and be like, "Hi, no, that's a fucking Schwag right there." Yeah, I didn't realize that.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey,
It's good in trivia because people don't know that, right? I go to a horror trivia. We have a horror trivia night out here in LA, in Burbank, California, and it's a big deal. And I went there one time, and they said, "How many people have played Leatherface?" And the guy's looking at me because he knows I was. And like 99% of the people didn't know it, and then they were like, "Well," and they were counting it off, and they were wrong. Everybody was wrong, and some girl's like, "Well, there was one guy that got hurt." I was like, "Yeah, bam, she got it." So. Yeah, so listen, I love the horror movies. I mean, I still love them. I love stuntmen. I think that stuntmen are like the day I got hurt, my stunt guy wasn't there. And I got hurt doing a stupid thing, pulling this guy, kept pulling him, dragging him across. You'll see it in the movie. And they really didn't need me there to do that, right? Because you're not getting, if the stunt guy would have been there, it would have been awesome. I would have saved my back. I would have finished the movie, would have done the sequel after that. But I mean, things happen for a reason. So I got hurt. At least I can say I was Leatherface for a week.
Yeah.
And, that's my story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were Leatherface in a movie. So, like, that was a commercial release movie. So, you know what I mean? You did.
Yeah. Yeah. It did well. And that movie did $100 million, like, right off the bat. Marcus Nispel, who was our director, it made, it was a big deal for him. Sure. He just directed a $100 million movie. So he was given, what else did he do next? He did Friday the 13th, and then he did a couple other movies, huge budget movies. And that's the way in. Once you get your foot in the door, you just want to keep it open. That's all.
Yeah, and so the real test, besides the Fangoria cover, is if it's a still of you that they use when they make the action figure. You know what I mean? And and be like, all right, that's a figure of me, motherfucker.
Yeah. Now they didn't. Now the only difference you can tell. So there are some Leatherface action figures, but this guy Andrew Bernarski, who replaced me, I mean, basically he's 90% of the movie. So the action figures. He couldn't. I had rings on my hand, right? So I don't have a big hand. So the rings I had on, and he's got a much bigger hand. He was much, a lot bigger, muscular than I was, and so he couldn't put the rings on. So there's one action figure where the guy's holding the chainsaw, and he's got a bunch of rings on his hand. That's the only one that I will purchase and sign for folks, because I'm like, well, that one, at least there's the difference.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, and that's deep knowledge right there. If someone knows that's like you said, that's deep horror trivia. Chainsaw Massacre.
There's people that know it, man.
Oh, there is.
There's people that know it.
That's a wacky
there's
world.
People that can.
That's a wacky world right there. Yeah, people get head deep into that stuff. I can't even say I don't even know where I was going with it, but I know people get like super deep with that. With any genre, there's like all kinds of people involved in all that. But
sure.
So no, but not to gloss over that, man. But did you really do a scene with Chuck Norris?
Oh yeah, sorry. So going back to that, so I got booked on a show called Yes Dear, and then one of the lead characters on Yes Dear, where I was on for 5 or 6 years, he was a security guard. So Chuck Norris, the real Chuck Norris, was going to be in a movie where he had to play a security guard, so he was shadowing this guy. It's like, well, I get to shadow you for his name was, I forget his character's name was Jimmy. So, Chuck Norris is this guy. He's like, I got twins. They poop in their diapers. I'm just a normal guy. And the guy on the show, Jimmy's like, well, you're supposed to be a tough guy. He's like, do you know what would happen if you hit someone with a chair over the head? It would, you might kill him. It's not what you think. I'm an actor. I do this stuff. So at the ending of this episode, the guy's like, well, you're just not the Chuck Norris I thought you were. And the guy goes, I'm sorry, Jimmy. I'm just a normal dad with twins. And when he's at a bar and he bumps into me, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, what are you doing? He's all sorry. And I'm like, well, you're Chuck Norris. You're supposed to be a tough guy. And he goes, well, just trying to leave the bar. But so then, I pick a fight with him, and he decides to beat up everyone in the bar. So it was pretty cool, and I was just like, God damn, it's Chuck Norris. And I'll tell you a little. I was like, I just got, and Chuck Norris doesn't usually work with tall guys, right? Because he's not very tall. So on Walker, Texas Ranger, when he filmed that, I always wanted to get a gig on that because he'd always bring it all flying. They filmed in Texas, and he was always flying these, bad guys to play the bad guys. But none of them could be over 6'1" or 6 feet tall. Oh. So I never got that gig because I'm almost 6'5". So on this show, he had no choice, but to work with me. And so it was quite an honor. He's such a really cool dude. And he still could really kick someone's ass, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he was a real kickboxer and stuff. It wasn't like
Yep.
They used to get the action guys to actually get them out of the field. They were real competitors. So,
well, yeah, you can see I forget what which movie it is, but legit, him and Bruce Lee going at it for that movie, and Bruce Lee specifically picked him to be in the movie. So it's pretty cool if you Google or go on YouTube and type in Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. I'm so stupid. I don't remember the name of the movie. It's Chinese Connection or something. I should know it.
Yeah. Well, it was funny too because when I was a kid, I used to love Delta Force, and that's one of those movies. It was on not too long ago, but I missed the first one, but they played Delta Force 2, and I was like, I don't know if this really holds up, but I did watch it all, so I guess it kind of held up enough for me. Come
on, man! It's Chuck Norris. Yeah. When we were kids, he was the cool dude. He was the cool badass guy, and yeah.
I was when you said you used to do security for bands. I didn't know if that's how you had originally met Jesse or something, because I know he used to do that. What genres or who did you do work for?
Oh man, I worked with a lot. I worked with rappers. I worked with Jane's Addiction, Fishbone. I mean, a lot of old punk bands. Some stuff with the Guns N' Roses, and it just depended. It just depended who was going on tour that week. Tone Loc, whatever the band, Sonic Youth. Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of cool punky bands or rock and roll bands. But I was trying to get out of that. It's to go on the road and have to be watching drunks and drug addicts is not and they expect you to beat that person up. Go beat that guy up so I can talk to his girl. It's like, I'm not going to do that. So,
yeah.
Or they would pick a fight because they know there's 6 guys, he has 6, the band has 6 security behind them. So
yep.
It's a pain in the ass. Now, a lot of those bands who are still playing today are all sober, which is a good thing. And they're doing well. So,
yeah. I did security like club security and stuff like that, or I would do event and show security. But being like a band's personal security, I can imagine what a nightmare that could be, man. Because being on the road's tough anyway. But never mind doing that job on the road, in environments that you're not as familiar with as if you work at the same club every week or every day or whatever. So I can imagine that gets a little draining for sure.
So I had a friend of mine who was bodyguard for not Neil Young. What's that guy's name? I can't think of it now.
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. So thank you very much. I couldn't get that Bob Dylan voice out. So he was bodyguard for Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan, loves boxing. So every time this guy would take a picture and put it up on Facebook or somewhere, I'm like, where is he? I'm at a boxing match. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, Bob bought us all tickets. So they go to these huge Mike Tyson, anything. They go to these fights with Bob Dylan. A cool cat who doesn't get in trouble, doesn't do shite.
Yeah.
That same guy would work with another one of my friends would work with Rush, right? So I forget which guy in Rush. I don't know if it was the drummer who just passed away or the guitar player was a big motorcycle guy, right? So they would all have their buses. And he would have 2 Harleys on the bottom of one of the buses he was on. So when they were going someplace, like they were driving from, in the bus, he would pull out the motorcycle, take my buddy who's their bodyguard, and they would go ride bikes to the next city,
Yeah.
I'm like, how cool is that? But then I never had those people. I was stuck with a bunch of raging drunks and heroin addicts, and you had to learn to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. You were in with the people that still were trying to get you in trouble.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I know. So many of my friends are in the music industry, whether touring musicians or road crew, and that's an industry. Bars and clubs is hit hard. But bands too. Like if you're a professional musician right now, unless you're able to find new ways to sell merch and stuff, man, that's a tough gig right now.
Oh, it destroys a lot. I'm sure the folks that were musicians that had bands that were hustling and getting the work and were hoping for, one day to get their break or get seen or, play this gig or open for this band, or I imagine that's all done, after a year not being able to do that, and probably another half a year. I mean, unless you physically move to a state where they're letting, music play, I'm sure a lot of these people are done.
Oh yeah, it's going to be like the divorce rate. The band breakup rate's probably going to be right up there as well.
Oh my God, I cannot imagine.
Yeah. So what you got anything interesting coming up in the future? I mean, and I know you got the new season of Monster Garage. We just started dipping into that, but anything else coming up that you're stoked on?
What do I got coming out? I got a movie called El Tonto with John Malkovich, Charlie Day from Everything's Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, he directed it. I have a kind of a cool gig, little part on that. I got a movie called Big Effin' Rack, which is a horror movie. Hopefully that'll be on video on demand shortly. And then, I'm blessed to work for 18 years for Bad Boy Mowers, a lawnmower company out of Arkansas. So I'll be working for them this year, doing all the commercials and voiceovers, and I go make appearances when we have a new dealership. And so, that keeps me kind of busy. And, I'm trying to sell a few reality shows myself, and hopefully one of these things will hit. I'm working with, trying to get a show for Britt Turner, the drummer from Blackberry Smoke. He's a really cool dude, loves cars, and we're working on something with him, trying to get a show out. Just auditioning and trying to keep my head above water and not get arrested. So
yeah, but you're doing it smart, man. You got a bunch of different hustles, you know what I mean? And it's kind of what you got to do to keep things moving. When one thing's down, you maybe got something going on here, and when that's going down, you got something over there.
That's what a lot of people don't get, and they don't understand. They think, well, I'm going to come to LA, I'm going to be an actor, and that's all it takes. Well, let me tell you, that's not all it takes, because unless you're lucky, unless you are just the greatest, hottest looking young girl, teenage girl, teenage guy, and you get lucky and they just want to keep pushing you. You have to have a lot of side hustles, man. You have to do everything, because you've got to throw stuff up against the wall and hopefully something will stick. I throw 100 things up against the wall just in case one doesn't stick, maybe the next one will, and you just keep doing it. And, as long as you, so I'm a man of my word, right? My father always, be a man of your word. So if I do something, I do gigs still. I work shows where I might not make the amount of money I want or what I think I should make, but I've been doing them for 10 years, right? I don't want to not say no to that guy that paid, gave me a couple bucks 10 years ago and say, well, I can't do that now because I got a better gig over here. So if you stay humble and you try to do everything you can to keep your hustle going, to pay your bills, eventually that stuff, it'll come about, and if it doesn't, you just got to keep going, and you got to reinvent yourself. I never thought I would do radio. And yet a couple of years ago, I had a radio show. I couldn't figure out how to get paid or I'd still be doing radio.
Yeah.
But it's tough, so you just got to keep doing everything, and hopefully something will happen. And, I've been blessed enough with the Monster Garage coming back on, and Jesse wanted me to do it. So hopefully we'll ride this for another couple years, and we'll figure out what else comes next.
Yeah. When you did a radio show, what were you playing music, or was it a talk show? What was the
No. It was a talk. It was called Monster Radio, and then we just talk about everything. I'd have guests on. Didn't matter who it was. Then I did a wrestling radio show called Wrestling 101.
Okay.
Which we did really well, and we got into like 60 markets. And that was great, but I wasn't making a lot of money. And then the company went bankrupt. They spent so much money. They had $100 million startup to do it was called Comedy World, and they had in Marina Del Rey, beautiful part of LA, right by the water.
Yeah.
And they had $100 million, and took this giant warehouse, and they put these. I called it a trailer park. They put these trailers in there, and different people had their radio shows from in there. And we had our own trailer. We did our. John Cena was on there answering phones for me before he was famous, and Samoa Joe was my co-host, who WWE guy.
Yeah. And
it was so fun, and I loved wrestling, and I got to talk wrestling 2 nights a week, and I was making a buck, and we were getting in 62 markets. I was like, man, you get in 100 markets, and I was like, man, I should start making some money. And then they spent all their money, and the guys that had the rest of the money are like, no, we're taking it back. Goodbye. So,
oh, jeez.
But I love it. I tried it. Look I was scared shitless. Believe me. I was like, I don't know if I can host a show. I'm just some goofy dude, that likes wrestling and rides bikes, but it worked. We got it. I had funny people with me. We had a good producer, and we just tried it, and then it started to work. And then you get used to it. You get used to talking. Get used to asking questions to guests. You get, you got to be prepared. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Yeah. And then the more you do it, you just kind of find your voice and your rhythm, and you sink into it, and there you go.
Yeah. Look, I'm so down right now at the Monster Garage, right? I got it. I can get in there, and it takes me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to do an episode.
Yep.
All right. So I got it down pat now. It's like I was really worried when we came back. It's been 14 years.
Sure.
But once after the first episode and second episode with the producers talking in my ear, and we're doing it, and I was like, all right, I got it. This is good. We got it. And then when you see the final product, you're like, all right, good. I feel comfortable. I'm not embarrassing myself. It sounds good. What's the next show I'm going to do? You're always trying to, what else can I do? Can I do the voice over here? This guy sucks. Let me get in there. And the good thing about Jesse, Discovery Channels, they're not holding me saying, this is the only thing you can do now. It's not like that. So,
yeah, you can.
So it's good. So yeah. I can go out and be the big Schwag or be Brett Wagner and do other stuff, which is good.
Oh yeah, man, that's cool. What you should do is bring back Monster Talk, but do it like one of those like Talking Dead shows where you bring on like the people that were on Monster Garage, like that were on the episode, and do like a 15-minute recap or something and talk about behind the scenes, man. Because that seems to be a big format now. You know what I mean? Like
it is. Chris Hardwick. Yeah, I listen. I would die to get on. So I'm good friends with Robert Patrick. Do you know who Robert is?
No. Oh yeah. The Terminator. Yeah. He owns a Harley dealership himself, right out there in California.
Yeah. So I'm good friends with him, and I do a lot of work for those guys. Harley Davidson at Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know where I was going with this, but anyways, Robert does everything, and Robert wanted to do. I would love to get Robert on a show and do a talk show with him because he's just so knowledgeable at everything. He's such a good dude. Loves cigars, loves motorcycles, loves German Shepherds. I'm like, all right, this is all I need to know about the guy. So what my point was he just was on The Walking Dead. He just did a cool part on The Walking Dead. And I was like, damn you, Robert, man. I die to get on The Walking Dead. One of my favorite shows.
You got to use some of that Leatherface cred to get on there and be like, yeah, I was Leatherface.
Man, I've tried. I wish it was that easy. But let's talk again at the end of the year and see where we both are at.
Yeah. But the last thing, man, like a lot of the listeners of this podcast are, I got a lot of music guys, a lot of motorcycle people and whatnot. Like what got you into bikes in the first place? And like, when, I know you mentioned when you were younger in the 80s, you had that Triumph chopper, but like what was the appeal of the draw to you with motorcycles?
Wow. When I was a kid, there was a lot of people, a lot of motorcycle clubs in the San Fernando Valley,
Sure.
where I'm from. And so I would see these guys riding all the time. So as a kid, I'd just be like, oh, wow, look at that. Look at these cool bikes. And then I never thought, I never got that Triumph chopper running. So when I was in my early 20s, I met a guy named Chopper Carl Kalungian, an Armenian guy, entrepreneur guy. He had his own business. He worked for, he was a recruiter for all these space, space companies, Rocketdyne and everything else. So that's what he did. He did very well. But on the side, he would build these Honda choppers, right? All these old, like 70s Honda choppers. He would find them. He would rebuild them. And I saw an ad in a paper, like 23 years old, for this Honda chopper, $5,000. I was like, I could come up with $5,000. This thing was almost 10 feet long. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I bought it. I could barely turn it around, if I had to turn it, it would have to be a huge loop to get this thing turned around. But that became my fascination and a love for choppers and bikes. And eventually he built me I had a 92 FLH. And then I just, I would ride. And as I got a little bit, into my 30s and definitely my 40s, I was, once the Monster Garage came about, I was going to do a lot of bike events. As the big Schwag emceeing. I still go MC a lot of stuff. Worked Sturgis for a couple of years and working for Easy Rider Saloon. I just got, Monster Garage really doing that. And I hosted one episode of Biker Build Off when they didn't have someone to come out there and do something. And I was already at that event in Davenport, Iowa. So I just got enamored with it and got thrust into, a little bit of the spotlight doing some stuff. So, it's just, I love it. Some of the most honest people in the world, are bikers.
Yeah.
And it's to a fault sometimes, but still the most honest people in the world, they usually, if they tell you something, their word is their bond. And it's, like that with everything. So, as far as that community is, so I just, I gravitate towards it, and my wife doesn't mind it. And, so it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I agree. I was talking to one of my friends that's a painter here earlier, and I was like, this is one of the last bastions of American culture where when someone's word is bond, or with that, still that tenet still holds true. I'm seeing it's not as prominent as it used to be, which bums me out a little bit, but like it's still there by and large, especially with a lot of the guys I roll with, and to me that's so important, and half of the appeal of it, like, it's sad that the rest of the world ain't as much like that anymore, it's crazy.
Well, there's that camaraderie, right? I go, like you said before, it's what's missing right now with a lot of the stuff. So I'll still go riding with a bunch of guys. I rode with the club for a while, so they'll still call me up and we'll go, if they got some kind of function, we'll go riding. And,
yeah.
And it's a good thing. And like I said, it's a shame that when I say culture, just, the United States, America in general, these people just can't get along. And can't say, my dad worked, I'll tell you, so the lawnmower company I work for, I have never had a contract in 18 years. It's always been a handshake with the owner. That's it. Can I sign on for 3 more years? And he goes, yeah. And he shakes my hand, and that's it.
Nice.
That doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. But it's the old school way, and it's cool.
Absolutely.
And I feel like being a biker and being in that culture, it's old school, but it's like, if you look a guy in the eye and shake his hand about something, that's usually 9 out of 10 times they're going to be honest, and it's going to come back and it'll all be good.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, dude, we've had a good talk here, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I definitely, feel free, hit me up whenever, man. You got some other stuff going on. Want to come back on, man? It's been an interesting talk, and I think people will be stoked to hear from you again. It was a good time, and I didn't even know about that Leatherface thing, man. That was a big surprise, dude. That's rad.
Yeah, Leatherface for a week. I'll have you do the forward when we do the book.
Yeah. When you do your memoirs. Oh, fuck yeah, man. Well, hey, best of luck with the new season of Monster Garage. Like I said, I didn't see the second episode, but I watched that first one with the Jaguar. It was fun, man. That was crazy. Did you ever?
Yeah, you got to go to. Go ahead.
Oh, I will say, but like I know it's different now with COVID and it being filmed in Austin. But when it was back in the day, when it was still filmed closer, were you on set more? Were you able to see some of the stuff?
Oh yeah, when it was in Long Beach, I would always go down if I could. I'd go down once a week or something just to see. It was so big back then. It was so, and so the garage was a block away or 2 blocks away from West Coast Choppers.
Yeah.
So once West Coast Choppers was so big, there were, the fan base. People were there. Oh, I mean, there'd be 100 people on that little side street, just hoping to get a glimpse of something, buy some shirts, buy something inside, get a glimpse of Jesse maybe rolling in. And it was so big. I was caught up in it. I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And then he'd do the No Love ride, the No Love party. Yeah. And that thing would be huge. And, he'd Fu Manchu and he'd have all these cool bands and stunt riders. And I was like, man, this is the life. But then as you get older, you realize, holy shit. I mean, I don't know how many people he had on the payroll, but and how many businesses and properties because he bought everything around that West Coast Choppers, all the buildings and everything. Yeah. So I'm sure it took a toll on him. And, towards the ending when he didn't like some of the shows we were doing on Monster Garage, and then that was it. It's like, all right, we're done. If I can't be creative and come up with something cool. So these other ideas he's held on to for 14 years. And then he's like, all right. And then he got the fever again, which is great. And it helps all of us out. And I hope people like it. You got to go to Discovery Plus. So if you go to discoveryplus.com and then you sign up for the Discovery Plus, I think it's $4.99 a month.
Okay.
But there's so many different shows on there, which are cool. A lot of the shows I watch. So nice. I don't mind the $4.99. And we have, there's 4 episodes up now. And then each week they'll drop another one. So for another month worth of, the 4 more episodes. So they're well worth it. It's fun. And, hopefully we'll get to be able to do, another season or so.
Absolutely. And I don't see why not, man. I think, with that hiatus, people are hungry for interesting content again, and there hasn't really been that much on the last few years as far as any cool kind of, automotive or motorcycle related stuff. Like it kind of burnt out, it seems. So like, I'm sure that maybe this will be the beginning of a little new resurgence and some cool shit.
A renaissance thing. It's coming back. Yeah.
Well, how these executives are. If Monster Garage does good, then all the other cable networks are, we're going to need something. We need something to compete with that. You know what I mean? Like, but until something does good, they don't care, Yeah.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is a lot of these execs they want to they can't come up with a good thought in their mind. So I don't mind the rehash on stuff, but a lot of movies, like they don't want to go out of their way to come up with something brand new. So let's just make a remake of The Mummy. Let's just do, let me give you American Choppers Part 5. So, like, okay, I got it. All this stuff is it's been rehashed, and no one wants to give a guy like me who's got a couple good ideas, and I work with some legit producers on coming up with a good show. They don't want to give us a shot because they're afraid. Well, what if it doesn't? Well, that's fine. But so then they just rehash the old stuff. Now, us being away for 14 years, I don't think it's hurt it. And we're definitely not rehashing stuff. We've changed a lot of stuff on there. So I think the new product is just as good and as exciting. And, I think we'll get a couple more years, but yeah, it would be exciting to see. I love bikes, I'd love to see some. I think Biker Build Off could come back and we could showcase some of these new guys that are building bikes that you may have never heard of.
Oh yeah, there's a whole every year there's like a changing of the guard, and some new guys come in and they come up and they work their way through the ranks, and you know, but it's there's always new blood, you know what I mean? So that could work.
I'll tell you real quick. I'm going to give a shout out because you'll know these people being out there, but Dave Perowitz.
Oh yeah, he's right down the road. He's like literally 10 minutes from me.
Yeah, so he's a good guy. If you ever see him, tell him the big Schwag said and you know, his daughter.
Yeah, Jody.
Jody's so cool. So I want to do a show with Jody. I've been pitching for a couple of years, a show with her and me hosting. And, you know, every time they're like, ooh, 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 and then it just fizzles. They don't get it. They don't understand. And I'm like, you guys are dropping the ball. I mean, you got a girl. And even if I don't do it, I want to, you know, she's got world records. Yeah. You know, she holds records on bikes, and her dad is still such a cool dude. And I just, you know, they get on, they do a show, or I think every day they do like an hour or something, her and her dad on Facebook Live, and I'll watch them, you know, because it's just such an interesting family. But guy like that still can build a badass bike, you know, and she builds bikes and paints as well. Excellent painter.
Yep.
And like I said, record holder. And I would love to see some of these new guys. I would love to see a biker build off of Perowitz and his daughter going up against some of these young blood and see what happens. See if the old guard still got it, which I think they do. So.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that would be an interesting concept. Like have like classic, you know, builders that have been in the industry a long time versus younger dudes that are just coming up, or younger gals, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, that'd be cool. Well, that'd be a different spin.
All right,
on
my
it for
friend.
sure.
Hey.
Well, hey, but before
thank
you leave,
so much for the time. I appreciate it, man. You didn't have to do this, and I appreciate it. So
no problem, man. Thank you. And before you leave, you got anything you want to plug? I know you got BigSchwag.com. You got any social media or anything that you want to plug?
You know, on Instagram, the Big Schwag, and then the big BigSchwag.com. And I'm going to start putting some dates up for some appearances I'll be doing this year. So hopefully everybody, if you're in the area, come by. Never sell pictures. Always hand them out for free. Always, if I go show someplace. A long time ago, Jesse James said, "Hey, if you're going out to these gigs, don't sell pictures like some of the other guys do, because it puts a bad taste in people's mouth," which it does. And I'll tell you a story one time about some other famous folks that are on TV that, you know, they just keep even though they're getting $500,000 to show up at an event for a weekend, $500,000, they still sat there and charged people. And then when their time was up, they got up off of that podium, even though there were still 60 people in line.
Yeah,
they've been waiting hours. And I knew that day, I was like, well, I'm never ever going to charge for an autograph if I go do a gig again, because that's just puts a bad taste in people's mouth. You know, I'm lucky enough that someone wants to actually come and say hi and get a picture from me at something. So
absolutely. And plus,
so there you go.
If you already got paid big money to be there, you know, like, what do you got to do wringing $10 out of some dude, some hard-earned money from some, you know, middle or class person, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, come on, that's just douchey move, you know?
Exactly. 100%. Look so when I go do a gig, I work out when I'm going to get paid to be there. And then I'm there I'm working. I'm emceeing anything they need. I'm doing the bikini contest. I'm helping judging the bike contest. I'm over at the chili eating contest if they got one. Hopefully everybody has a chili eating contest. But I do it all. And I do that because I want to come back. I don't want them to go, oh my God, that scumbag tried to get $25,000 out of us to come for a weekend. Listen, if I could get $25,000, I don't have to do 4 gigs a year and I'd be tickled pink. But that's not the way it is. That's not where the market is, you know? Yeah. So I get a fair buck to come out, and I work my ass off. And if you do that, people will always remember that. They will always say, you know, shake your hand and say something nice. And that's all you can ask for, you know?
That's just a good way to go through life, man. Like, you get paid to do a job, do it with a smile, do the job. And, you know, if you don't like the way something worked out, like, don't take it out on the crowd that's there to hang out and see you, you know what I mean? And deal with the business end of it later. And you know, like you said, man, if people are there and like stoked to meet you, like why would you shut that down? Like, cause you left 60 people at the podium. Now you look like a douche to those 60 people, and they're going to tell
60 people that have been waiting in line for 6-7 hours.
Yeah. That word's going to to spread fast. You know what I mean? Like, wow, man, these dudes are jerk offs. But
All right.
these are problems I don't have. You know, I like being able to move around and not have to worry about that. But yeah, man, that's a different level of the game. But dude, thank you so much for coming out. Well, not coming out, for coming on. And usually I like to do these things in person, but travel is limited and the world's a weird place right now, so we do it over the phone. But next time, man, maybe I'll come out when you're doing the next Chainsaw Massacre. I'll come on set and we'll do a podcast after that one, because they're gonna do another one. They are, man. Like this is like they every 5 years, 10 years they do another one.
Yeah, they say they're never gonna do it, and then they do it again. Yeah. No, if we're so you're out. If I can get out that way, if I do come out there and I'm booking a gig, I'll let you know, and we're doing something out there, and we can meet up and we can get you and we can do a live broadcast or something, or at least taped from a good episode, a good spot.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll have fun, man. But I'm going to shut this off here. Again, thank you for coming on, and I'll talk to you soon.